talking so much? And listen, you have to take care of this baby financially, but you also will have the legal right to see the child. If you all can't work together.
Now, what I don't understand is how can two people have completely different accounts of every sexual encounter? You say you always use protection, and she says you never did.
What was this about? You all were just having sex for sport or what?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Basically, but
Yeah.
basically we were friends. No, don't even. We was friends. We've been best of friends until Cedric really.
Best of friends?
Yes, we have been.
As you all know, paternity court is unique for one particular thing, and that is basically to uncover the lies and deception that happen between couples and families. Ms. Davis was in court to prove that a man she had known for only 2 months was the father of her child. Mr. Ham, on the other hand, claimed she had 2 other boyfriends and was very certain he wasn't the father of her child.
Ms. Davis, you claim you got pregnant with Mr. Ham's child after knowing him for only 2 months. You've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that Mr. Ham is the father of your 1-month-old baby, Jarrell Ham Jr. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're suing him for $1,500 for the cost of the baby shower gifts that you say Mr. Ham took from you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Diving straight into the drama between Ms. Davis and Mr. Ham. Mr. Ham was asked to explain why he felt he couldn't be the father of the child. The reply he gave blew the minds of everyone in the courtroom, believe me. He started by giving a little background history of how he met Ms. Davis.
When we switched numbers, we started talking on the phone within those same exact hours. So during that time, we agreed to meet up. When I'm thinking we meeting up, I'm thinking it's just gonna be me and Brandy. When I pull up to the lake after we agreed, that's where we agreed to go to the lake. When I pull up at the lake, she got a whole crowd of people surrounding her car. So as I get closer, Ms. Davis then comes and approaches my car. We start having a conversation. As me and Ms. Davis having a conversation, one of her female friends comes up to the car and say, well,
You honestly couldn't blame Mr. Ham for having the level of doubt he had about the paternity of the child. Trust me, Ms. Davis had 2 boyfriends while she was trying to get intimate with Mr. Ham. That wasn't even the craziest part of the story. Aside from having 2 boyfriends, she was also married.
More than one boyfriend.
yes, Your Honor, and she's married too, and she's still technically, she's not divorced, she's still technically married, and she had 2 boyfriends too. So this is why I'm in a point where, okay, this can't really be my child due to the fact she had all these boyfriends, and then at the end of the day, I come found she's married too, so I don't know what to believe.
At some point after you're at this lake and you start talking, you have a sexual relation.
Ms. Davis wasn't even denying the fact that Mr. Ham had the right to have doubts about the paternity of her child. I mean, she had 2 different boyfriends. She was married, and on top of all that, she had an unprotected sexual relationship with Mr. Davis. He claimed anytime Ms. Davis got drunk, she wanted to sleep with anyone she met.
So you do understand why Mr. Ham may have doubts?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay, good.
I do.
She already had boyfriends before she was even with me, and just like I say, when she get drunk, she's real sexual. When
Yeah,
she get drunk,
I am.
she
I'm
gets so
nasty.
drunk that
You right.
can't,
You right. I am.
If she was drunk right now, she would be
I'm
passed
drunk.
out sleeping
What's wrong with
on
that?
TV.
What's wrong with that?
Now Ms. Davis starts showing symptoms of pregnancy, but in her mind, she just thinks she is sick. After finding out she was pregnant, she picked up her phone and tried to inform Mr. Ham about the pregnancy. She claimed he was very excited and wanted her to have the baby. So how did that exciting feeling turn to dust?
I called his phone and told him I was pregnant. He was at work. I went to his job, and man was talking about it. He was
What?
happy, excited. Yes, I did. Went to your job. He was happy, excited.
So you
real
felt like
happy.
his reaction was that of
He was
excitement?
gonna be there. He was gonna help me out and do all this, regardless of the fact that we went on in the past. He was gonna be
And
there.
I gave her my
For me
word.
and my first
I gave her
son. I
my
have 2
word.
kids.
And due to the fact of what she was going through, I gave her my word as a man. And due to the fact that
you ain't a man.
the situation with me and my father.
At one period, when they got into a heated argument, back when they were still having a sexual relationship, Ms. Davis outrightly told Mr. Ham that he wasn't the father of her child in front of his mom and aunt. It just kept going from bad to worse with these 2.
She told in front of my mother and auntie that this
No, I
is
didn't.
not my
I
child
never
when the
did that.
child was
That's a lie.
4 weeks old.
I never
she
did
told
that.
this in front of my
I
mother and
never
auntie.
did that.
And the
Never.
second time,
I
when we
told
was
that to
arguing
you
in front of her,
out of
at
anger.
her mother's
I said
house.
that to you out of anger. Out of anger, yes, Your Honor, I did say that twice.
And
out
then
of
the
anger.
second time
we
in front
argued.
of
He
her
make me
own
mad. I'm
mother.
like, you don't.
All right,
not
one at
your
a
child.
time, I want to understand this. So you're saying, Mr. Ham, that in front of your family members, she says
I did not say
That
that.
I was not the father of that
I said
child.
it to him in an argument.
It was a total disaster trying to figure out which of the men Ms. Davis was intimate with at several given periods. Now Judge Lauren was trying to figure out the exact guy she was sleeping with during her window of conception. Was it Mr. Ham or her boyfriend or even the husband she claimed to be divorced from? No one really knew.
And when was that?
I said at the beginning of July, around July 10th, around that time. That was the last time we had sex.
Ms. Davis, you're saying you were still sleeping with your boyfriend in July.
Yeah, yes, in the beginning.
And then you started sleeping with Mr. Ham in August or late July?
No,
We
beginning of July.
We
Beginning of July.
We had sex, the first time we had sex was the second day we met, and we was having sex on and on every day.
Their case was filled with nothing short of lies and deception. There was no going forward, and the judge could sense that. The only way to bring their drama to a close was to reveal the results of the DNA test. Who's it going to be, Mr. Ham? The boyfriend or her husband?
Mr. Ham, you are Jarrell's father.
Like I said, I don't have no problem with stepping up, but at the same time, I can't be in this child's life if she's trying to control me with this child.
It has been determined by this court that you are this child's biological father, which means as a father, you have rights.
But
You
ma'am-
have, listen, stop talking so much and listen. You have to take care of this baby financially, but you also will have the legal right to see the child.
In this case, Ms. Nichols was fed up with Mr. Young's behavior. All she wanted was for him to accept the baby and step up to his responsibilities as a father, because she claimed she had no doubt that he was the biological father to her 13-month-old baby. Mr. Young claimed she had been having funny business with another man outside her relationship and was already pregnant when they began their relationship.
Ms. Nichols, you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Young, to court today because you say he denies he's the father of your 13-month-old daughter, Sine.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say it's time for him to step up and take responsibility.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Young, you say you refuse to accept Sine because you claim that Ms. Nichols was already pregnant when you began your relationship. Refuse to allow her to trap you with another man's baby.
Yes, Your Honor.
I mean, there was only one question Judge Lauren could ask Mr. Young, and that was why he had doubts about not being the father of her child. He started by saying she was trying to pin the baby on him because she was jealous that he moved on with his life and found a new girl who was way better than she was. But Ms. Nichols jumped out and called him a fat-ass liar.
Doesn't like the fact that I moved on and I have a new relationship, and she's all about getting money out of me. She knows that I was treating her good. She's been lying since the first time I met her, just making my life miserable.
Have you been making his life miserable, Ms. Nichols?
No, Your Honor, I have not. He started denying my daughter before his new relationship. He actually started denying her when I moved out of his house because he was cheating.
Really?
I've known Mr. Young for 19 years.
Now, Ms. Nichols was trying to tell the judge how she had known Mr. Young for years, and how when they saw it was almost as if she had met her soulmate. She sounded so convincing, trust me. One would even think she had never met any other man all her life. But Mr. Young was selling a different story. He claimed that Ms. Nichols stalked him throughout his previous relationship, and when she found out he was single, she tried to force her way into his life.
She hit me up on Facebook, talking about because she'd been trying to find me, and she been wanting to see me. And as soon as she came over, she was still on the same thing she was when I first met her, trying to get back in the bed with me like always.
Wow.
So there was no instant connection, like she said, Mr. Young?
I mean, no, there was no instant connection like that. I mean,
Your Honor,
I was getting out of a relationship, and then she hit me up like, hey, I want to come over, man. I ain't seen you in a long time.
These two were about to lock their heads in a brawl. Nobody seemed to want to agree with the other person. As the secrets and lies kept finding their way to the floors of the courtroom, Ms. Nichols claimed the first night she moved in with him, Mr. Young told her that he loved her, and that was the reason she never moved out of his house. But Mr. Young was waiting to drop his truth bomb.
He told me he loved me the first night that I was there. That's why I never left.
That's a lie. She didn't have nowhere to go because she was been evicted, and the guy she was staying with at the time was her sugar daddy.
I was not. No, he was not my sugar daddy, and I was not being evicted.
She was telling this sugar daddy
that
man.
apartment by myself.
It was starting to feel like a competition between Mr. Young and Ms. Nichols. And when I say competition, I mean who could tell the best lies, because these two sure knew how to do just that. Now, Mr. Young wasn't particularly a saint in the situation. What he left out of his story was that he was also getting some sugar from the sugar daddy. Whatever money or favors the sugar daddy was doing for Ms. Nichols, he sure was having his share in the shadows.
No, anything I called and asked this man for, he would come. If I needed a ride to work, because he couldn't take me. He couldn't provide me with no bus money or anything.
Hold on, so you got a little sugar from the sugar daddy too. Mr. Young, do you believe this sugar daddy is Sinead's father? Is that what you're asserting today in court?
She's the same color as him, and she looks like him.
Mr. Young was hell-bent on proving to everyone in the courtroom that she had been messing with several men. Mr. Young wasn't just saying she had been sleeping with the sugar daddy. There was a whole new accusation coming into the mix, and this time, he said she had another man whom she was having a sexual relationship with.
And what about the other guy? Were you sleeping with him too?
No, I had broke up with that man 2 years before he came along.
She said she broke up in a relationship. Don't you mess around with people?
But
So
I was
sleeping with them.
broke up with him before I started messing with you, Sean.
So you was sleeping
He
with
was
them,
in
darling.
jail. The man was in jail.
Yeah, okay.
I have not heard from this man.
Well, I heard from him constantly. constantly on Facebook telling me not to believe nothing you say, because you always sleeping around and you ain't never gonna stop messing with the sugar daddy. He himself told me that.
Let's jump right to the moment Ms. Nichols finds out she is pregnant. Well, there's a bit of a little twist as to how she found out she was pregnant. One cozy evening, when she and Mr. Young were all cuddled up in bed, Mr. Young noticed something different about how Mr. Nichols was looking. He did the maths, and boom, he told her she was pregnant.
He told me I was pregnant.
Really?
We were just sitting around and he just kept looking at me and I'm like, well, you know, what are you looking at? He was like, well, you're pregnant. I'm like, yeah, right. You know, I didn't believe I was pregnant. A couple days later, I went to the doctor and I was pregnant.
Did you believe it was your child then, Mr. Young?
At first I did, but then when I started looking at the dates when the baby was born, the dates don't add up. The baby was due in August. She had her at the end of May, so how can I be my baby?
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Young and Ms. Nichols. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth.
Mr. Young, you are her father.
Surprise, surprise.
And I see tears in your eyes because what do you feel in this moment?
Because, like, his dad wasn't in his life. So he should know that how I would feel, how his mom felt. Break the cycle.
Now we know this is your biological daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You can't keep going on the way you going. This little girl is gonna grow up.
Just like the previous case, the man in this situation was claiming that the mother of a set of twins was trying to trap him with her kids. Ms. Mayo was in the courtroom to prove that Mr. Brown happens to be the father of her fraternal twins. Mr. Brown on the other side of the courtroom wasn't going to be the father of kids he claimed belonged to another man.
Ms. Mayo, you're here today because you filed a paternity suit against Mr. Brown, who you claim is your 2-month-old fraternal twins, Chloe and Carter's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You say when today's results prove your case, you want him to pay you $1,000 for half of the child rearing expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
Aside from suing Mr. Brown to prove that he was the father of her kids, she was also suing him for a sum of $1,500, which she claimed she had spent taking care of her twins. She was very upset that she had been the only one taking care of the kids, and Mr. Brown refused to help, knowing fully well that he was the father of her kids.
Everything they got from before I even had them, I have bought. Mr. Brown have bought not one thing that you can think of. Everything came out of my pocket, or my mom, or my dad.
Not one thing.
Not one thing. Nothing at all.
Mr. Brown, is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why is that?
Because I don't believe they my children.
I don't know why you feel like that, and you know they're yours, bro. I don't know why you feel like that, and you already know.
And now, the argument begins with Mr. Brown and Ms. Mayo yelling at the top of their voices. Ms. Mayo, still very upset, started to talk about how she wished she never met Mr. Brown and also wished she never got pregnant for him. I honestly wonder how they found themselves in such a messy situation.
Why was you messing with me?
Cause at first we was friends. Why you putting on a show? Before any of this happened, we was friends. We was cordial. Like, I was doing stuff for you, you was doing stuff for me and my kids. One go right.
Right.
Say if it was Monday. If I didn't see him Monday, I knew for a fact I was gonna see him Tuesday.
Right.
From the first night when we had sex, we didn't use a condom.
So
Every
if she
day
seen
we
me,
had sex, we never used a
so
condom.
if she seen me Monday and she ain't see me Tuesday, that's a whole gap.
For them, it was all about having a good time without having any feelings attached. But Ms. Mayo didn't just settle for the fact that it was just a sexual relationship. She said they had been best friends for a really long time, and she didn't know why Mr. Brown was doing her dirty.
No, Donnie, we was friends. We been best of friends until Cedric really.
Best of friends?
Yes, we have been. Before all this happened, we was friends.
Man,
so
we
you
was
wasn't
friends.
helping me take
Okay.
care of my kids. The kids
Yeah.
didn't. We weren't
I
friends.
was
Making
doing
sure
all-
I
I
got
was
to
doing
work.
all that,
Making
but-
sure this. and
Wait a
that.
minute,
Come on now.
he was helping you take care of your other kids.
Yes, making sure I got to work. Make sure I had gas in my truck. Make
that's
sure
a
I
type of-
had.
That sounds like you were a
Make sure
couple
I
to
had
me.
everything.
The situation kept going from bad to worse in the courtroom, with both of them refusing to agree with one another. Mr. Brown even referred to it as a situationship, not a relationship. Moving on, Ms. Mayo finds out she's pregnant with his child and tries to reach out to him. What he does next would leave you speechless, trust me.
He left. He blocked me on
Okay,
everything.
okay.
Blocked me on Facebook. Blocked
Okay.
me on Instagram.
Okay,
Removed
look,
everything.
can we take
Just
it
started
back?
talking to me.
I'm saying, can we
Just started
take-
block
can
my
we-
mama. I wrote his mama on.
You blocked her
Yes.
mama too, Mr.
Yes.
Brown?
I wrote
All
his
that.
mama on Facebook.
All that.
He wrote back talking
All
about don't
that.
inbox my mama. But if I feel like your mama should have stepped up and said something.
I want to go back to the moment you told him.
Now the lies started to pop out, and some secrets needed to be exposed. Mr. Brown already told her before they began their sexual adventures that he wanted no kids at all. He even said she presented him with so many documents that she claimed were from her doctors, indicating that it was impossible for her to get pregnant again.
That she would never have children again. So when she presented me with all this, I feel like I'm in a safety net. I got a safety zone. Like, okay, she can't have children.
Oh,
Right.
So she comes in with all this paperwork telling
Showing me
you I can't have any children.
how she almost died, having her last child, and he was never supposed to be here.
For Mr. Brown, there were so many reasons for his doubts, and his mind wasn't going to be changed by anything the judge said in that courtroom. He also claimed that the kids didn't look like him at all. He wasn't just saying that, trust me. He actually proceeded to prove that they didn't look like him.
When I first met her, she had sex with me on the first night. So how I'm supposed to view that? Come on.
So what is your doubt exactly?
They don't look like me for one. I got very
They
distinct
running
features.
So come on, everybody in America knows that when newborns are born, they don't look like no
Your Honor,
one.
can I go to?
They don't even look like me.
Can I go to the easel?
Oh, you have an exhibit?
Yes, can I go
Please
to the
step
easel and
over.
show you?
Yes, I'd like to see it.
Well, it's finally time to unveil the truth after so many lies and deceptions. The day of reckoning is finally here, with everyone itching to know the truth. Are you ready to find out? I bet you are. So take a deep breath, because here it comes.
Mr. Brown, you are the father.
What you gonna do now?
Man, you know I'm gonna take care of my children, man. Come on, man.
We'll see.
Well, let me say this before we adjourn. Mr. Brown, these are your biological.
Yeah, I know that now.
All right, so you know that now for certain.
Yeah.
Because of that, you are required by law.
This revelation was one that Ms. Jones wasn't expecting to uncover in that courtroom. She discovers that there is a possibility that she could have another man as a father. The revelation shook the walls of Ms. Jones's heart and left her with so much confusion. Mr. Jones, on the other hand, believes that there is no chance on earth that he could be her biological father.
All right, so Ms. Jones, I need to start at the beginning. So what was it like growing up around Mr. Jones and his family?
Your Honor, I felt unwanted and lonely and invisible.
Wow. Take me there. What was it like for you as a little girl?
He was in and out my life, barely saw him.
The words she used to describe her life while growing up were unwanted, neglected, and invisible. She couldn't even remember spending any quality time with Mr. Jones, which then begs the question, was he really her father?
But you barely saw him?
Yes.
Was in and out your life?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you remember quality time you spent with him?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Jones, Miss Jones is saying she grew up with you in and out of her life. Were you involved at all?
Yes, Your Honor, I was. Matter of fact, Your Honor, the problem was, Your Honor, that I never felt that.
Mr. Jones was so certain that she was not his child. On several occasions, he had fights with her mother about the paternity of Ms. Jones, but her mother was very insistent on the fact that she knew he was the father. He even said her mom was the one who didn't want to get the DNA test done to determine who the real father was.
To have a test done when she was little.
Yeah, but my mom told me that you said you didn't have the money for it.
No, that's not true. At first I didn't, but I went to the hospital and I got there, and Terry knows that Ms. Brittingham knew that when we got to the hospital, I was there to get this test done then.
And what happened?
I was standing up in the line to wait to be waited on. I got there, there was a gentleman ahead of me. Then when he moved, I stepped up and I turned around and looked.
The conversation about the use of protection while in a sexual relationship comes up, and Mr. Jones and Ms. Jones's mother get into a brawl. There was no going forward with these two because they just couldn't agree on anything.
My mom told me you didn't use protection at all.
That's not true. I did. And
When
you know
did
it.
you use protection? I'm sorry, Your Honor. But when did you use protection? I don't remember you
yes,
using
I
no
did, Terry,
protection.
and you knew I did.
No, I didn't either.
Your Honor, I used protection.
Now, what I don't understand is how can two people have completely different accounts of every sexual encounter?
The stories were starting to sound very confusing in the courtroom. Mr. Jones had apparently been paying for child support all these years. His name was even written and signed on Ms. Jones's birth certificate. I mean, it couldn't have been forged, or could it?
If this was the case, if I'm to be her father, which I paid for her for all the many years.
So you've been paying child support all these years?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Are
Yes,
you on
I
the
have.
birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor, he is on the birth certificate. I have a copy right here if you'd like to see that.
And you know,
Jerome, please hand me that evidence. So take me back a little bit, Miss Brittingham. So you were still in a relationship with Mr. Jones?
Yes.
no, Your Honor, that's not correct.
The genesis of this paternity crisis was that Mr. Jones felt Ms. Jones's mother was not honest with him when she gave birth to the child. He claimed that when she was asked who the father of the child was, she initially hesitated and then went on to call his name. Has Ms. Jones's mother been seeing other men?
But what happened is, then all of a sudden she hesitated, and then she said Jerome Jones.
What you felt like all these years was that she wasn't completely honest during that time.
Exactly.
And you've paid support all these years.
Yes, I have.
You have evidence that
Yes,
you brought?
I do. It's right here, Your Honor.
Jerome, please hand me the evidence.
And it's 2 years on here. It's 2 years missing. That's not there.
This is where things start to get out of hand. Mr. Jones presented his evidence, showing how involved he had been in Ms. Jones's life. Mr. Jones had paid over $50,000 in child support. Now that's a lot of money going into child support for a child you claim not to be yours. Wouldn't you say?
Didn't go back that far because my company It was sold.
You're saying you've paid close to $50,000 in child support
Pretty close.
for a child that you 100% believe is not yours.
Absolutely. I'm sorry she has to go through this today because I still love her just like she is my child.
No.
And as
So
far as her,
wait.
and
I
as
don't
far as her
really
not,
feel like
and
that.
as far as,
I don't
as
feel
far
like
as her
that
not
at all.
coming to my house, that was her choice. That wasn't my choice.
Mr. Jones's story started to have some serious twists and turns. Ms. Jones was tired of hearing him speak, so she decided to open up once again. Mr. Jones didn't tell anyone she was his daughter. Whenever they went to gatherings, people would often ask who Ms. Jones was because Mr. Jones never mentioned he had a daughter.
I didn't, who's this? And you said, it's my daughter. I was like, oh, I didn't know you had a daughter.
You told me that?
No, you said that to them.
No, that's not true.
No, what was
No.
said was they would say they didn't know he had a daughter.
Yeah.
And you would say that this was your daughter, and they say, oh, I didn't know you had a daughter.
Why would I say that?
Ms. Brittingham, I need to ask you, I mean, because he's paid the support, I got documentation.
Yeah.
Well, it's finally time to unveil the truth after so many lies and deceptions. The day of reckoning is finally here, with everyone itching to know the truth. Are you ready to find out? I bet you are. So take a deep breath because here it comes.
Mr. Jones, you are not Lakeisha's father.
So now you know. That's all right, because you'll always be my baby.
Ms. Jones, please sit down. I know that's not the news you wanted. Are you okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
We say in this courtroom all the time, it takes DNA to be a father, but it takes love to be a daddy.